Carol. One day, Dad's boss came to our house with his wife. She didn't take her eyes off of me during dinner. I felt embarrassed and decided to leave. However, while I was washing my plate, something strange happened at the table. That woman took off her wig. It turned out she was bald. She started passionately telling my parents something. I decided to stay away from her and spent the rest of the evening in my room. After the guests had left, I went down to the dining room to have some cake. My parents were weirdly generous and handed me 3 pieces at once. And then Mom said, "Carol, Mrs. Young has alopecia. It means that her hair does not grow. She really likes your hair though. She is ready to spend a lot of money to buy it for her new wig." Of course, I refused. Girls fell for me because of my hair, and anyway, I didn't want to change my looks because of some rich woman's whim, but my parents wouldn't leave me alone. They kept trying to convince me. Sell it, sell it, sell it. Ugh. I got tired of saying no over and over again. We started fighting. Being at home became unbearable. Fortunately, I soon got a chance to get away from them. I was quite popular on Instagram, and I got an offer to star in an advertisement for a hair growth remedy. To do that, I would have to fly to another city. I didn't say anything to my parents as to not argue again. I just threw things into my backpack, took some money I had saved up, left a note, and headed to the airport. 4 hours later, I was already in another city. I checked into a hotel and ordered room service. I ate so much I couldn't even move. But then, my mood was ruined by a phone call. It was Mom. She had found the note and started scolding me. And of course, she reminded me about the poor Mrs. Young for the 100th time. I was so sick of it. I hung up and blocked both her and Dad's numbers. I really wanted to catch a break from their lectures. The next morning, I came to the set. When the director saw me, he was surprised. "So, you're a guy? Well, we were sure you were a girl." I tensed up. People often made that mistake, but the director laughed and patted me on the shoulder. "Relax, I'm kidding. Did you forget? You sent us a photo of your ID." The director liked my hair even more after seeing it in person. He decided to make me the face of an advertising campaign and film not one, but several commercials at once. I was so happy that I signed all the documents without reading them, and that was my biggest mistake. You will see why later. For now, listen to what happened next. After filming, I came back to the hotel and saw a note at the door of my room. I unfolded it and read, "Give up filming and go home. Otherwise, kiss your hair goodbye." You can't imagine how angry I was. My parents hadn't managed to get through to me, so they had bribed someone from the staff and decided to scare me. I unblocked them, started a video call, and told them everything I thought about them. But my parents were very surprised. "What are you talking about, Carol? We don't even know where you're staying." That was true. Why hadn't I thought of that before? Who and why had planted that threatening note then? I couldn't stop thinking about it the next day. In the evening, my foe found me. I was drinking coffee in the lobby bar. All of a sudden, someone grabbed me by the hair from behind and hissed in my ear, "I warned you." I turned around and saw a girl with hair as cool as mine. She stared at me and turned red. "So you're the blonde they hired instead of me? Oh." The girl ran away so fast I didn't even have time to say anything. I couldn't get her out of my head the next day. I wanted to find her and talk to her. I described her to the receptionist, but they said nobody like that stayed at their hotel. Then I asked the director about her. After all, there weren't that many girls with such long hair. I was sure he would remember her, but he was no help either. There were a lot of girls at the casting. I can't remember all of them. It seemed fishy to me. The stranger had spoken so confidently, like they had already chosen her for the job but then changed their minds after my arrival. I decided to get to the bottom of it all. During a break, everyone went to drink coffee. It was the perfect moment. I grabbed the director's laptop and ran to the bathroom with it. There was a folder called Casting on the desktop. Well, let's see what was in it. But I shouldn't have got so excited. A photo of me was the only file in the folder. The director was obviously hiding something, but there was no time to figure it out. The coffee break was already over, and I had to put the laptop back in place. After filming, I went down to the subway as usual. Someone was playing the guitar and singing in a squeaky voice. I came closer and recognized the girl I kept thinking about. In front of her was a box that said, "For my surgery." The girl couldn't sing at all, so the box was almost empty. I opened my mouth to offer help, but the girl recognized me, closed her eyes, and covered her face with her hands. "Please don't get mad. I'm so ashamed of myself. I had to. Please understand." I calmed her down and asked her to play some pop rock. As a child, I had gone to a music school, so I sang well. The girl looked at me incredulously and started playing an Imagine Dragons song, and I joined in on the chorus. It turned out quite nice, at least passerbys liked it. After we'd earned some money, I suggested to my partner that we take a break and drink a cup of coffee. We went to the nearest coffee shop. It turned out the girl's name was Gloria. She lived with her grandmother, who was the reason she was performing. My grandmother had a heart attack not long ago. She needs surgery, but we don't have the money for it. When I found out they were looking for long-haired girls for filming a commercial, I decided to try, but I was rejected because of some blonde. I decided to eliminate my competitor. Sorry, it didn't even occur to me you could be a guy. Gloria and I spent a few hours chatting. She turned out to be so cool. I spent the whole night tossing and turning, thinking of ways to help her. And in the morning, I brought her to the director and asked him to hire Gloria instead of me. After all, Gloria's hair was no worse than mine. In addition, they had already wanted to hire a girl anyway, but the director did not approve of my idea. He said that several commercials with me had already been released, and changing the model in the middle of the advertising campaign was very expensive and bad for the brand. I promised Gloria that I would give her all the money I earned. After all, she needed it much more than I did. Gloria thanked me and suddenly burst into tears.
We're running out of time. It's time to prepare Grandma for surgery, but I need to pay at least part of the amount for that.
I knew how to quickly get some money. In the evening, I video called my parents and agreed to sell my hair to Mrs. Young. But it was too late. It turned out she had already found a much cheaper option. I had no choice but to ask my parents for help. I told them the story of my new friend and asked them to send us some money. Oddly enough, they immediately agreed, and soon I got the small amount we needed. The next day, I asked the director to give me an advance. I had given all my money to Gloria. That had been enough for the first payment. They had begun to prepare her grandmother for the surgery, but we still had to get a large sum. I was counting on the fee for the commercials. However, I knew perfectly well that it would still not be enough. So I suggested Gloria we earn extra money in the subway. We went down there in the evenings with the box, and for several hours she played guitar and I sang. On one of these evenings, Gloria suddenly came up to me and kissed me.
Thank you. You've done so much for us.
After that, our daily meetings turned into dates. Gloria invited me to stay in her grandmother's room so that I wouldn't have to spend money on my own hotel room. A week flew by that way. I came to set for the last time in a great mood. Soon, I would be paid, but the director came up to me with an unusual offer. I have a great idea. If you cut off your hair for the camera, we'll pay you twice as much. It would be a good beginning of a new advertising campaign. You will use our product for a whole year, and then we will film you again. Your hair will grow back quickly. Viewers will definitely believe such an advertisement. I didn't want to part with my hair, but for Gloria's sake, I agreed. When they turned on the camera, I cut it off with scissors. The director immediately collected the hair in a bag. I asked for money, but he laughed and showed me our contract. You should have read what you were signing, brat! Horrified, I read, in case of hair loss during the filming of the advertising campaign, all payment agreements are canceled. I was such an idiot! I had been tricked! I clenched my fist and lunged at the director, but he called the security guards and pinned me down. With a malicious smile, he said, "Thank you from my mom, Mrs. Young." I was thrown out on the street. The whole ad campaign turned out to be fake. That crazy woman had set up everything and got my hair practically for free. I had totally screwed up. After that, I felt too embarrassed to look Gloria in the eye, but I still came to her and told her the truth about everything. Now we had no money for her grandmother's surgery. Gloria burst into tears on my shoulder. I stroked her hair. At that moment, I realized what I had to do. I suggested Gloria cut off and sell her luxurious hair. Of course, that wouldn't be enough. But if we sold mine, we would have enough to save her grandma. Gloria liked my idea, and we developed a plan to get back my stolen hair. First of all, I called my programmer friend and asked him to hack the account I got an invitation from. Steve managed in just an hour. We got access to all the correspondence of that fraudster. He had sent Mrs. Young his flight number. We Googled it and found his plane was leaving at 8 p.m. that day. I posted an Instagram story explaining what had happened to me. I asked my followers from Chicago to come to the airport an hour before the departure of that crook to help me. Gloria and I didn't have a plan B, so we crossed our fingers and headed to the O'Hare airport. We didn't have to wait long for the director to arrive. I blocked his way and demanded he return what belonged to me. but he was older and stronger than me, so he easily pushed me away. I looked at my watch hopefully. It was 19:05. It was over. My followers hadn't come. But to my surprise, a crowd of teenagers appeared from around the corner, like we were in a movie. Boys and girls carrying signs surrounded the frightened director. Everyone was filming what had happened on their phone. Mr. Young clearly was not expecting such a turn. He clutched his bag, hunched over, and screamed, "How much money do you want? I'll pay you all! Just get away and stop filming me! I have to get on a flight!" My followers burst out laughing. One of them demanded he return my hair, or they would post that video, and everyone would find out that Mr. Young was a real coward. And I proudly added, "And of course, the story of what you did to me will go viral on social media." After that, hardly anyone would want to work with such a director. Mr. Young, shaking with anger, handed me the bag of hair. The crowd parted, and he took off while my followers booed. Gloria hugged me. "We won! We won! Nothing else could stop us. I found buyers on social media and we sold our hair for a great price. Using that money, we paid for Gloria's grandmother's surgery. Now she had a long rehabilitation ahead of her. It was time to go home. At parting, I left Gloria my address and made her a promise to come visit me as soon as her grandmother had recovered. At home, I made up with my parents. They had missed me terribly and promised not to drive me crazy with nonsense anymore. After everything I told them, Dad didn't want to be in any way connected to his boss and his crazy wife, and quit. The video with the director got posted in the end. The Youngs had to move to Canada to escape their shame. 6 months passed since that moment. My hair was growing very quickly. I really missed Gloria, but for some reason she hadn't come. But one day our doorbell rang. I opened the door and saw Gloria, who beamed at me. She hugged me and said that she wanted me to meet someone. Her grandma appeared from behind her. Mrs. Miller shook my hand gratefully, and Gloria told me the good news. They had moved to my city. After everything that had happened to us, Gloria and I decided to keep growing out and cutting our hair to sell it and save people. Those who didn't have the money for expensive surgeries. However, when our hair grew back, we were offered to star in a shampoo commercial. Now we knew exactly what to do. First, we carefully read the contract, and then asked for a 100% payment. The company paid us without any issues. We transferred the money to a charity. The brand enjoyed working with us so much that they signed a contract with us for several years. That's how my hair started saving lives. Are there any long-haired people among you? Respond in the comments down below. Let's see how many of us are out there.